Today on the table, we have a Smith & Wesson Regulation Police. So this is a pretty rare model. This is a 38, but what happened is that they actually came out with a 32 long, and that was the more popular model. That was actually supposed to be called the Smith & Wesson Model 31. And it is on an I-frame, just like this is. The model, all the Regulation Polices are on these small, now defunct I-frames. And it was mainly made as a 32 long, and it was a 6-shot 32 long. So you can see this is a 5-shot. This is a 38 Smith & Wesson instead of a 38 Special. But they made these from 1917 to 1940, and then those were the pre-war ones, and then there was a post-war one, and those were made up until 1969. So this is actually the earlier version of them. The serial number for the first range for the pre-war ones were up until 54,000. So 54,000, about 400. So 1 through 54,000, any of those would be a pre-war model. And that's what this is. The serial number on this one is 30, if I can read it here, it's 35,900. So this puts this one probably like around late 1930s, maybe. I would say like right around late 1930s. So there are some variations about this. It is a very light pistol, even though it's all metal. It is very easy to conceal, carry. There's not much weight to it. It does have its, what I like to call the double diamond grips on any of the old Smith & Wessons, where you have this extra diamond here in the middle around the screw. But what differentiates a lot of these versus the other Smith & Wessons is they don't have that logo right here. So normally you'd see on most of the other ones there would be a logo here. But they did make these actually a little bit more for people with bigger hands. Thus is why they had these much larger grips on them with the square butts on them. So like when you're actually holding on to it, there's actually quite a bit of grip for you to hold on to on a pistol frame that is so small as this. Now the 32 longs definitely sold a lot more than these 38s did. They did seem to gain some popularity based on my research in the book, because again, this is these Model 32s are these Smith & Wesson Regulation Polices, which you can see right here. It says Smith & Wesson Regulation Police right there, and then it says 38 Smith & Wesson CTG. So like I said, it is chambered in a shorter 38 Smith & Wesson cartridge versus the longer 38 Special cartridge. But these are they were just so tough to find. Like even just trying to do a little bit of internet research, I was having a hard time. You get a little bit of information, maybe somebody posted something in regards to it, but there wasn't much. I couldn't, you can't just, find something online as easily. I found a few other ones for sale, so that was kind of fun. I wanted this one just because it's in fantastic condition. It still has, everything's original. The only difference is on this one, looks like at one point somebody might have put some nail polish or a little bit of red paint here, which I can get off with acetone. I haven't done that yet. They are differentiate. The 38s and the 32s are different. The 32s have more of a rounder butt on their grips, whereas the 38s have these square flat butts on theirs, which is kind of cool. Probably just because it's a little bit bigger cartridge, they want to give somebody a little bit more to hold on to. But they are super cool. It is a rare, it is theoretically, I guess you could say it's a Smith & Wesson Model 32, which is a really rare pistol. And again, the 31 is that 32 caliber. So I might have to go find a 32 version of this as well, so that way I'll have them both. Just, I could have like a sister pair of them. But I just want to show everybody, I was lucky to find it when I was bombing around looking for odd models to have. And I might actually shoot this one. I do have some 38 Smith & Wesson ammo. And I think I mentioned that this one is chambered in 5. And it does have the cylinder matches, the serial number on the cylinder matches the frame, which is really cool too. But I do have some Smith & Wesson, 38 Smith & Wesson ammo. So I might, take a couple shots with that. And I think I said is that this is a 5-shot, whereas the 32 is a 6-shot. So just pretty cool. If you guys have one, if anybody in the comments actually has one or has fired one, I know there's some older guys in the comments too. if you have any other history about them, I have my Smith & Wesson book that I actually had to use to look up some more information on this based on, the little that I could find online. But if you have other information, I'd love to hear more about it too. Or even if you have a post-war one. If you have a later modeled one that maybe you carried in service, or as they were meant to be carried as a secondary revolver, for police, other military and things like that. They were made not as your first carry. They were meant more as a backup. So, anyways, I just think they're super cool. This is what it looks like. And then let me know if you have any questions or comments on it.